As a general rule, the dreamer in us is pretty terrible at getting things done. Conversely, the doer in us is pretty terrible at knowing what we really want, why we want to act in the first place. Ideally, we need to get these two to work together, because left to their own devices, our dreamer and doer usually go in opposite directions. The dreamer in us wants life to be fun and fulfilling and creative, and isn't much concerned about how to actually make it happen. Of course, the doer in us wants life to be clearly mapped out and planned, and isn't too keen about trying new things. This is similar to the divide in our brains and how we think, with our creative, intuitive side and our logical, practical side. Although it's more complicated than left brain versus right brain, that internal conflict is very real for most of us. How do we get our dreamer and our doer to agree to the same thing? You don't. They're not going to agree. They want different things. Their approaches to the same problem will often be the polar opposite of each other. So even though our dreamer and doer are ultimately on the same page, they have very different ideas about how to turn it. This conflict is most acute in the area of our aspirations for the future. What seems most desirable to the dreamer sounds like a nightmare for the doer, and vice versa. You want to start a new career? Now? What are you, crazy? You want to stick to doing the same thing all the time? What are you, crazy? So, how to get along? Simple. Let both sides get what they want, but make them promise to share responsibility. And as far as I can tell, it must work like this. The dreamer starts the process. The doer finishes it. The dreamer provides the destination. The doer provides the roadmap. The doer must follow the dreamer's direction, and the dreamer must follow the doer's plan of action. So it must start with the dreamer, because the doer is no good at imagining the future. But then the doer must be allowed to lead the way there, because the dreamer is no good at sticking to the plan. Sure, there's going to be give and take, yet this assignment of purpose will bring balance to the relationship. They'll still argue constantly, but both sides will know when to claim and when to release authority. The dreamer and doer in us will never agree on tactics, but if you can get them to accept each other's strengths, they can at least get along. And who knows, maybe they'll even get to like each other eventually.